What's up, YouTubers? It's Justin coming to you from the Big Blue Nation once again, and today I was going to talk to you about lithops, or stone plants. These plants are succulents, and they've gained a lot in popularity over the last couple years. So today I'll be transplanting them and giving you a little bit of information. Alright, this is my assistant Bo. He's going to be looking after me, making sure I'm doing everything okay. Of course, whenever you get the pot that you want to choose, you have several different varieties. I chose terracotta. Terracotta is a very good, it's pretty sturdy, it's really sturdy, but it can break easily, so be very careful with it. Of course, you definitely want to wash the pot when you receive it. I got this one from Lowe's, and it was outside. It had a lot of bird waste on it, so you definitely want to clean it. But be careful with terracotta because it is very, very, very porous, which means it will retain any of the water that you use to clean the pot. It will look like you do have a lot of soap residue on it, but mostly what it is just the water being released from it. It does breathe, the terracotta does, so it will look like a lot of soap is coming out of it. Really, it's just releasing a little bit of gas. For the soil, I'm using a Miracle-Gro, the cactus, palm, and citrus mix. It's very good because it does not retain a lot of water and drains really easily. It does have a little bit of nutrients in it, but it will not burn the plants out. So now, I got these plants off eBay. I was being a bit impulsive and saw the picture. It looked really good in the picture, but I neglected to read the item's description. So lesson learned, always read the description and make sure you know exactly what you're getting. I thought I was going to be getting a potted plant, but I just got a bunch of individual plants that need to be potted. So I'm going to go ahead and open these up and see what all I got. Now the soil is very good for this plant, but it's not 100% coarse, so I'm adding a little bit of rocks and other organic matters in here to help break down and just give the plant a little bit more of its own natural consistency that it's used to. So I'll add that in and just mix it up. And this really does help when it comes to drainage. It lets the water kind of filter through better. Now I do have some really coarse rocks in here, so that does help with drainage like I was saying, but you don't want really big rocks. Really big rocks, I don't know where that came from, but a lot of people think that if you put really rather large rocks in the bottom of the pot, it will help with drainage. That is just not true. What it does is it allows the wet soil to kind of aggregate, and it ends up holding more water in the bottom of the pot. So doing something like that will end up hurting the plant. Alright, now that I have the soil in and about where I want it, the next thing to do is to create little holes where I'm going to drop the plants in. Now these are bare root plants, so there's not really any soil or organic matter attached to the roots. This is a very healthy way to shift the plant. So like I said, I'll just take a little pencil and put little holes down into the dirt and then drop the plants down in there. Now you don't have to go too deep. Step is just taking the plant and dropping it down in there, being sure that you get the roots all the way down there. Now you do want to leave a little bit up to the soil, not much. Get the plant about 3/4 of the way, maybe half the way down in there. Now, when you are placing the plants down in the soil, you want to submerge them about 3/4 of the way, maybe about half the way. And if you go too deep, feel free to use little tweezers and gently pull it back out, and then push soil down in around the sides to kind of hold it in place. Because if these get too deep, the sunlight won't hit them. Now, as you can see, what sets these plants apart from other plants is there is no stem and there are no leaves. If there are any leaves, they will be completely underground. So the parts that are exposed to any sunlight is just going to be the tops. Now, the top part of the plant plays a very important role. It has to be able to let sunlight through so that the cells down in there can photosynthesize. And then you'll notice on all of these, they do have a little crack down the center. This is where the flowers will come out. I believe they produce their flowers anywhere from March up until about June in the southern hemisphere. And then they'll develop seeds anywhere from like October to November in the southern hemisphere once again. So you can tell with this one right here, is starting to split right where the crack is. That is a new leaf, for lack of a better term, that's getting ready to come through. Now all these two are just two individual leaves that kind of fuse together and flatten out to resemble a rock. Now these are mimicry plants, so they do mimic rocks, and that's for their own protection. And so what I have here are just a little bit of rocks that I'm going to place in and around here to show you how these plants do kind of blend in. But first, I forgot, you do need to give the plants a little bit of water. Now, these plants are native to southern Africa, in countries like Angola. Well, it's more to the south, so they are all around South Africa, but they have been spotted in different places in Africa, in countries like Angola, Botswana, Namibia, and I believe that's about it. So they are mostly found in deserts, but they are also found at high elevations on mountains, and I do believe that one specific genus is found on the coast. So most places will get really cold or really hot, but the one that is found on the coast do have pretty tolerable temperatures year-round. Okay, now I have each plant exactly where I want it. So next thing to do is gonna go ahead and add a little bit of water. And as I was saying earlier, the ones that are in the desert only get about 700 milliliters of water a year. So this is about as much water as some of them get in an entire year. Some of them can get this much scattered throughout the year, but for the most part, a lot of them get this just about once or twice a year. So whenever you're giving your plant water, keep this in mind as to how much they'll get a year. So it is nice to go ahead and mist the soil to give the plants a little bit of a better start for just being planted. Now I did give them a little bit more water than you typically would, because I know that these plants have not had any water in about a week. And with me just now planting them, I do want them to have a good head start. Now say these plants hold the only nutritional value for miles around. Any hungry, desperate desert tortoise or anything that likes to eat these wouldn't know what to do. They would just walk on by. A lot of plants have protective spines and hooks and other appendages. Mimicry plants do not. They rely totally on the ability to camouflage and blend in to save their own lives. Now, these plants are relatively easy to take care of. As long as they receive well over 8 hours of direct sunlight in a day, these plants will be really happy. And as I was saying earlier, these plants only get about 700 milliliters of water in 1 year, so do not give them much water if you give them any water at all. They will be fine if you want to rely on Mother Nature to do the watering, but if you're in a place like Seattle or anywhere else that gets a lot of rain, make sure these plants are protected. Do have some covering over them because they do not need much water at all and they will drown. Now these plants can be a little confusing at times because they do have a winter dormancy, and in their natural habitats they do have a summer dormancy. In places that do get really hot, they will go dormant and not do any growing, and in those instances they need no water at all. So water sparingly and water carefully. Now I know these plants do look relatively small and they do blend in. They are small, like slow growers, so they won't grow too fast, but as they do grow they will get bigger and they will become more prominent. Now I know there's been a succulent craze going on in the country for the last couple of years. I think that craze is here to stay. A lot of people like succulents and a lot of people like cacti. So I will be making other videos on other succulents and a lot on cacti. Now I hope you like this video, and if you do, hit the like button. And if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell next to it. That'll enable you to know whenever I post new videos. This is Justin, and I want to remind you to plant prudently. Have a good one, YouTube. Thank you.